So, welcome to Go Ape's Tribe Talks. My name's Abby, and this week I'll be talking to Steve and Pete about what it's like to trail run in the Scottish Highlands. Pretty chilly, I imagine. But Pete, why don't you get us started off by answering this question for me? In one sentence, can you summarise what trail running is, just for any of the viewers that aren't sure?
So it's obviously running kind of like outside, sort of in nature. You know, you're running on a lot of sort of like mixed terrain, you know, so you're on the trails, gravel, mud, snow, ice, rock, grass. And yeah, like it's just more of the sort of all-rounded sport compared to like your road running, if you like, you know. So you sort of like using more of your muscles when you're trail running. You know, you also have to go up and down a lot, and you know, you have to watch where you're putting your feet. So yeah, so it's just like an all-rounded, mixed terrain.
It's a bit more of an extreme form of running then for you.
Yeah, just a little bit different, yeah.
Stephen, why did you get into trail running? What sort of inspired you to start your journey with the sport?
For me, it was actually finding out that I was going to be a dad. So I found out that my partner was pregnant, and I felt that my lifestyle at the time was quite sedentary, a bit lazy, probably like most people, just sort of maybe down the pub, wee bit of exercise, maybe five-a-side. I played football at university, and I just felt that I needed to get a wee bit more exercise. And people like Pete, obviously quite inspiring. He was doing quite a lot of trail running at the time, and I thought, dip my toe in a wee bit of running, and then eventually start getting used to the hills, and you start looking at where you can run rather than just being roads. Like I stay in Glasgow, it's quite flat and a bit different. So I thought getting out in the trails, out in nature is where I work, so why not take my running there?
Would you say that people start trail running that have already done road running, or would you say you could just 2-foot it straight in the deep end and go straight into trail running? Would you advise road running first or having some running background?
I think in the past people went from road to trail, but nowadays I think trail running as a sport itself is sort of standalone, and I think the media around, social media around the sport now is much greater. Like, you get a lot of these cool documentaries. You got people like Killian Jornet that's running up Everest and stuff like that. Obviously having a running background is quite good, but trail running as a sport is completely different to roads, and like Pete said, you run across different terrains using completely different muscles, and it's just so much different. Like the whole atmosphere around trail running is different to road running. It's not as competitive, you know, always going for your PBs or sort of elbowing past people on a race. It's just different. It's so different.
But no, that's amazing. That's super. And Pete, I understand you've been described by Stephen as running some killer races. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that? Have you got any standout moments or stories that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yeah. So I ran a sort of ultra mountain marathon, if you like. So back in 2019, which was up in Scotland, up in the Highlands. Which was 55 kilometers and about 4,000 meters of, you know, vertical gain. So a lot of climbing up and down across the Highlands. And yeah, man, it was just like proper hardcore. You know, I've had spent, you know, like quite a few years obviously running in the mountains and trails, but from this was just like a whole other level. You know, like I think the race took me about 12 hours. Just shows how hard it is, because like normally for me it was running a kind of, you know, probably just a standard, you know, ultra marathon 50k, probably 4.5 to 5 hours. You know, the fact that this took me 12 hours was just like mental. It was just solid, lots of climb up and down the highest hills out here in Scotland, you know, like proper technical as well, you know, it's lots of single track and all the ridges, you know, like I'm scrambling as well, so you know, you've got to use your hands and your feet a bit, you know, as you're scrambling across these airy little ridges. But yeah, man, it was like, I was just so glad when it's finished. I tell you, man, it's just like proper knackered.
I bet. Thinking about 12 hours of running, just like, what was the first thing you ate when the race was over? What was that meal that like got you through that last bit, thinking I just can't wait to...
I actually went to grab a chippy to the fair. Just straight up, you know.
Proper Scottish.
Yeah, just a chippy, you know, from the chip shop, and just smash that down. And then, the whole thing actually like lied in my car for about like 4 hours after that. You know, I just couldn't move. I just could not drive, couldn't move. I was just like lying flat out the back of my car, just completely, just like ruined me. But yeah, like it was
That's
a really good
insane.
experience though. So but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool, and yeah, like, it's a lovely place to run, with all the mountains. So and yeah, man, there's a lot of people in the race, but yeah, man, it was pretty hardcore. I think
Yeah.
like 60% of the initial participants actually didn't I didn't finish it. So there's not many of us actually finished. I think out of like 400 runners, about 100 of us, actually finished the whole race. So it's,
Yeah.
I think that shows how hard it was.
I
But yeah,
reckon
it's
that's
cool.
probably a big difference between trail and road events. I reckon there's probably a lot less finishers in the trail events than there are the road because of that it's just another level. It's like
Just a lot harder, like you just need to sort of like switch up your pace a bit more, so it's it's hard, just the weather as well, the weather up in the hills can just obviously change in like an instant, like 1 minute it's nice and sunny and then it's just horrendous. So it's a race which us two actually did. When was that, Stephen? What, back in 2018 was it?
Yeah, 2018, the Solomon VK.
Yeah, and it's just like a short race, but just the conditions up on top of the hill was just horrendous. It was just like snowing and hailing, and it's just grim. Just changed a lot in the space of like 3 kilometers of running. It went from actually being not too bad and quite nice, just full blown crazy, windy, snowy, like proper cold, like horrible. Yeah, it is mental.
Well, so do you run together a lot? Because another question I have for you guys is that I'd assume that trail running in the Scottish Highlands must be quite a lonely sport. But if you run together, do you trail run together a lot, or is it more of a on your own thing? Would you say it's isolated?
I think running's a sport in general is quite egocentric. It's all about you. It's not exactly a team sport unless you're running like relays in the Olympics or anything like that. But there is obviously that kind of sense of community in trail running that you can build up. There's so many groups out there, and Pete and I do tend to run quite a lot together.
Yeah.
And I think some of my best days out in the hills and out running have been with friends, because obviously running on your own, running the trails period has its inherent danger with the elements like Pete's saying. It can get caught out anytime. You can trip, you can fall, roll an ankle. Different to a road where you can phone an Uber. You're kind of stuck in the mountain. It's mountain rescue, or you're hobbling down with your pride somewhere left in the hill. But definitely running on your own can be quite dangerous in the Highlands. So it's always good to take a friend along. But that's not to say that trail run has to be up in the mountains. It can be anywhere, any green space in any city. You can find a trail. Like I said, I live in Glasgow. It's very flat, and you don't get much kind of green space unless you get in the outskirts. But I've got wee sections like 400 or 500 meters, which I just do loops of. It's perfect.
No, that's very true. That's super true. So, guys, in 3 words, could you tell us how trail running makes you feel? Stephen, I'm going to come to you first.
I'm going to go very Scottish here and say pure, dead brilliant. I think running as a sport gives you those kind of endorphins and makes you feel good anyway. And the trail run, you've got that added effect of being out places like that behind me, like just hills and trees, and it's different to roads. Got cars and fumes and all that kind of stuff that nobody likes. Like being outside, it is just pure dead brilliant. It's such a good Scottish way of summing something up that's just good. It's just it's something different.
Creme de la creme. That is absolutely the most authentic answer, considering we're talking about trail running in the Scottish Highlands. I think that's phenomenal. I'm afraid, Pete, I'm going to have to come to you. Can you match that with brilliance?
I would say happy, sweaty, knackering.
I love that
every
as
time
well.
I go out trail running or running in general, I don't have to be trail running, but like when I'm out running, I've always got a smile on my face because it's just so, like it's just it's just like nice to be outside, fresh air, it just makes me feel happy. Obviously getting a bit of a sweat on when I run up the hills, and then afterwards, if I feel knackered, then I've done a good job.
Amazing. I love that. That's fantastic. I feel inspired. I feel like I should be going and taking up some trail running outside, going to find a field after this. But guys, do either of you have a favorite accessory that you always feel like you take when you go trail running, or like something that aids your trail runs and makes it easier?
Yeah. So I've got a little belt. Looks like this, sort of slots around my waist. And then in this, I can carry all my drinks, that spare jacket, gloves, hat, my gels, my phone, my keys. But yeah, so I'll probably take that on nearly all my runs just because I can, squeeze all my stuff in that I need, all the essentials. But yeah, it's a great bit of kit, it didn't cost me that much, and it just, sits nice on your waist. It's good.
And would you go for a belt over a backpack or an armband or something? Does the belt, you feel like that's the best place to hold it all?
I guess it depends on how far you're running and what you're doing, So if I'm going up the hills, then I'll probably take a bit more, So I'll probably kind of have a little rucksack or whatever, if I'm going far, But I'd be happy up to a half marathon, maybe a bit more, probably just wearing that belt, It all depends on time of year as well. So in the summer where you don't need as much, then the belt's fine. Also in winter and it's a bit crazy weather, then I might take a bit more with me. But in general, that's all good.
For sure. Amazing. And Stephen, if you had a piece of advice to give to someone wanting to take up trail running, so hopefully we've inspired our viewers up to this point and they're itching to know, is there anything that they need to know before they head out on the trails? Is there some advice that you'd give to them and why?
Yeah, I think obviously apart from enjoying it, because we want you to get out there and enjoy nature, I think it is to do with looking after yourself. It can be quite a dangerous sport if you're out there, like say out in Highlands, out in the hills, if you're going out on your own, if you trip, it's just preparing yourself and knowing that people know where you are, how long you're going to be. And like Pete's saying, if you're going out for longer runs, taking the right kit. If you don't use it, you don't use it. But if you've got it and you need it, brilliant. You save yourself a lot of hassle down the line. There's nothing worse than seeing people out that have nothing with them, and you just know that if something goes wrong, they're going to be in a really bad place. So anything's dangerous. Anything in life has its inherent risks, and that's what we're all about. We're on about being a wee bit adventurous and doing things that excite you. And I think, although it's dangerous, you can sort of make it less so. You can just get out there and enjoy it, but make sure you're looking at yourself and
minimize the risk.
Yeah, exactly. Prolong how you can be out there and just enjoy that kind of stuff.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been great chatting to you. I definitely feel like trail running is something that I need to give a proper go, although I think I need to visit Scotland first as well. Thank you so much for your time, and I'd just like to encourage everyone that's watched the video today to remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with everybody, and remember to check back on the Go Ape socials for future tribe talks on how to live life adventurously. Thanks so much, guys.